Hey everybody, this is Haley here to talk to you guys today about how to be the best editor that you can be. And this is so that when you're trading work with other people, you are looking for the right things and you're really giving them constructive feedback, but also it's so that you guys know what to look for when you're having your work edited, especially if you're paying somebody to do it. These are the things that a good editor is going to do, and it's what you should be looking for. So to get started, I want to give you guys a couple of rules first before we talk about how to be your best editor. First of all, I want to say make sure that people want you critiquing their work. And this actually applies to a lot of things. I know there's a lot of people who like to go around and correct everybody's grammar, and let me know how that goes for you guys. My experience has been that people don't necessarily enjoy that because they have not asked you to go around correcting their grammar, right? So there are times when people want to be critiqued and want to improve on their work and want to get better in every way. And there are times when they don't. They just kind of want to be left alone about certain things. And so it's really important that you identify what kind of person you're working with and what they're looking for. So for example, if a 5-year-old comes up to you and wants to show off the picture book that they have made themselves, maybe it's not the best time to rip it apart and say everything that's wrong with it. Another example would be if, this works for adults too. If somebody comes to you with a book cover, and you guys, I know a lot of you have heard me ask this before actually. I always ask up front before they show it to me, are we celebrating this? Are we just getting excited about this? Or are you looking for improvements? Are you looking for a critique on it? Because it's not the right time, guys, to be critiquing somebody's cover 2 days before the book comes out, saying everything that you think is wrong with it. There is a time and a place for that, but a really good question to ask is this finished? Because if it's finished, if it's on its way to publication, if the books are being printed right now, it's not the time to be saying everything you think is wrong with it. You need to make sure that it is the appropriate time. So that is rule number 1. And then the second thing that I really want you guys to think about when you're editing other people's work is that this story is not yours. It's not your job to say that the story is wrong or that you think it should be a different story in general. Your job as an editor is to take the story that these people have written and make it the best reader experience that you can. Your job as an editor is to take the characters they've created and make sure that they're coming through to the reader in the way that that author wants. So I really want to stress the point that art cannot be wrong. What we're editing for is the reader experience. So if a person has written something that is for themselves, that helps them in a really beautiful way, helped them through a really tough point in their lives, it's already succeeded on its own. It's art, it can't be wrong. And I want to compare this to music, actually. One of my favorite teachers ever used to tell us when we would take solos. I used to play flute. And when we would solo, he would say there are no wrong notes, just better choices. And so I want that to ring through in the way that we edit our books as well, that there's no wrong notes, just better choices. There's no wrong storyline, but there can be better ways to portray it. There's no wrong characters, but there might be better ways that you can portray them to your readers and get them across as like somebody your reader connects with more or hates more. There are better choices, but none of it is wrong. And so I definitely want you guys to remember that this is not your book when you're editing somebody else's work. Your job is not to change the story, it's to change the way that the story impacts the reader and make it as good as you can. So you guys, the golden rule about editing, the number one thing that I need you to know is that you can't complain about anything unless you can recommend a way to make it better. So don't go pointing out, oh, I don't like this section, or this is bad. You can't say that unless you have a very specific way that you know how to improve it. And I want to tell you guys kind of a real life story that relates to this, because this golden rule you can apply to a lot of things. But I played volleyball for a lot of years, and in my first couple of years of getting started, guys, I could not serve. And that's a very important part of the game. You need to be able to serve the ball. And I don't know what was wrong. I'm actually a very big girl. I've got some pretty muscular arms, at least I did back then. And I could not get the ball over the net. And what's frustrating, guys, is that people could see that. They could clearly see something was wrong. But they didn't know how to tell me how to fix it. And so when people would just point out that it's wrong, be like, your ball's not getting over the net, That's frustrating because they aren't telling you how to fix it, or they would tell you wrongly how to fix it, right? Like I would have people say, you just need to get more mad, or you need to work out more and make your arms stronger. Those were not the solutions. And so I want you to think about that when it comes to editing as well. You can't point out that something is wrong unless you have an idea of how you want to fix it. And that includes you need to be able to say how to fix it and why that is a better fix than what they had. So for example, if somebody has a character who is falling flat, it is not helpful to just say this character is falling flat, right? That doesn't instruct somebody on how to fix the problem. So a good editor will be able to say this character is falling flat, but it is because of this, this, and this. They're not speaking with personality. They're not having opinions in these situations. They aren't playing an active role in the plot of the book. Those are the why. That is why it needs to be fixed. And then you can explain how to fix it. Okay, they have these lines here. What if we injected like some personality in the form of how they say them or their body language? So you have to have that how and the why in order to point out what's wrong and make it better. So I just want you guys to know, you're gonna have beta readers who read through your work and they hand it back and they say, oh, this was great. And like anything else, editing is a skill to be developed. So those people may have the best of intentions and they may be trying to look to make your book better and they just don't know what to look for. And that's okay. That means that they genuinely enjoyed your book if they really don't have anything to fix. And then there's gonna be the people who, point out what's wrong but don't know how to tell you how to fix it. Sorry. And then there's gonna be the people who can point out what's wrong, they can tell you how to fix it, and they can tell you why. And so that is what you're looking for, and as an editor, that is who you want to be. So don't point anything out unless you can give the author those three things, those three really helpful critique elements. And I will also say it is sometimes hard to find people who are able to do that. So when you find them, hold on to them. Make sure they don't ever go anywhere so that they can always help you out with whatever your next project it is that you're working on, whatever book you're writing. In my experience, when I wrote Secrets of the Tally, I had, it took me 5 years to write it and another 7 years of editing before it came out. And in those 7 years of editing, I had for sure upwards of 50 people read it. And guys, I can count on my fingers how many of those people came back with good feedback that was actually very helpful to me. And those are the people who I still use as my readers today. So those are the things you're trying to shoot for when you're trying to be an editor, and they're also the things you're trying to look for when you're trying to hire an editor. So I hope that those have been helpful. Keep those in mind as you're reading, as you're writing, as you're getting your work edited, and let's get back to writing.